Are you going through something in life right now and you just don't know if you're going to get through it? You're so overwhelmed, you have this anxiety about the future and why things are happening? Let me help you out. This is a story about a teacup, and to say the least, it's going to help you get through this. And you will get through this. Let's get into it. So there was a couple in England and they loved antiques and they loved just little trinkets and stuff, and they especially loved teacups. So this one day on their 25th anniversary, they go into this shop and there's beautiful teacups and pottery and just a bunch of cool stuff in there. But they see this one teacup that catches their eye. The lady says, "Can I see that? We've never seen one that's quite as beautiful as this one." And as soon as she held the teacup, it started talking to her. And it's like, you don't understand. I haven't always been like this. There was a time when I was red and just a lump of clay. But then my master rolled me and patted me over and over, and I yelled out, "Let me go." But he smiled and said, "Not yet." Then I was placed on a spinning wheel, and suddenly I was spinning round and round and round, and I said, "Stop it, I'm getting dizzy," I screamed. But the master nodded and said, "Not yet." And then he put me in the oven. I've never felt such heat. I wonder, why is he trying to burn me? I yelled and I knocked at the door and I knocked and he would not let me out. And I could see him through the opening and I could read his lips. And all he did was shake his head and said, "Not yet." And finally, the door opened. He put me on the shelf and I began to cool. "Ah, that's better," I said. But then he started brushing me and painting me all over, and the fumes were so horrible and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I thought I was gonna gag. I said, stop it," I cried. And he just nodded and said, "Not yet." Then suddenly, he put me back into the oven. Not like the first one. This one was twice as hot, and I knew that I was gonna suffocate. I begged and I begged and I pleaded. I said, "Please let me go. Please let me out. I can't take this anymore. Why are you doing this to me?" And then again, I saw him through the opening and he just said, "Not yet." And then I knew there wasn't any hope. I was never gonna make it. I'm a goner. I'm not getting out of here. And I was ready to give up. And then the door opened and he took me out and he placed me on a shelf. And 1 hour later, he handed me a mirror. And I looked and I said, "That's not me. That's beautiful. I'm beautiful." He said, "I want you to remember then. I know it hurts to be rolled and patted, but had I left you alone, you would have dried up. I know it made you dizzy when I spun you around on the wheel, but had I stopped, you would have crumbled. I knew it hurt and I knew it was hot and so disagreeable in the oven, but I knew if I hadn't put you in there, you would have cracked. And I knew the fumes were so bad when I brushed you and painted you all over, but if I hadn't done that, you never would have had the color in your life. And if I hadn't put you back in that second oven, you wouldn't have survived for very long because the hardness would not have held. Now you're a finished product. You are what I had in my mind when I first began with you." See, a lot of the times it feels like the sky's falling. It feels like everything is going wrong. Everything is just so overwhelming and you just don't know if you're gonna make it out, just like the teacup. You're being patted, you're being rolled, you're going through all this stuff. But just like he said, in order to turn something into something beautiful, you have to go through the brutality. You can't have the wine without crushing of the grapes. You can't have a rainbow without the storm. You can't have a butterfly without the cocoon. You can't have diamonds without the pressure. The pressure has a purpose. You have a purpose. A scar heals the skin stronger than before. Your wounds turn you into a warrior. You're gonna go from broken to blessed, from broken to beast, from mud to masterpiece, and your mess will become your message.